Draw a breath, a deep breath. Now hold it, my friends. Hold it long, for the world drowns.
Hello, and welcome to Legendarium Green Team's Malazan series. Welcome to episode 5 of the Bonehunter series. I am Huron Fan, and I'm joined by Befuddled Panda,
Hello.
Ashaman,
Guten Tag.
and Yesna as a boy.
Hi.
Yesna, where are you now in your read-through?
I have finished Toll the Hounds, and I'm in the middle of Orb Scepter Throne.
Yeah, so keep that in mind, listeners. And Ashaman and I have read it. Panda's just finished Bonehunters with the rest of us, so yeah.
I'm so slow.
Well, when did we start this? February or January?
January.
Yeah, it's been a while. Sorry,
This
everybody.
has been the longest by far, right?
Yeah, and from now on, we're gonna do 5 episodes a book. We just preferred it like this. So
Yeah.
even more time.
And that's why I'm reading ahead.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
We might finish next year.
I actually started a reread of Return of the Crimson Guard the other day. Today we are covering Bonehunters chapters 21 through the epilogue. Spoiler warning for all of those. And let's start.
Did you want to do a check-in?
Oh yeah, we're gonna do a check-in. Thanks, Panda. You start, Panda. You seem to have had a really good time.
What is with the wink?
Oh, I think you know.
Oh dear. Yeah, life's good. Well, work is stressful, but everything else is good. So that's awesome. I'm going back to Disneyland
Ooh.
for one day before it's gonna be a really long time probably.
One day, is it worth the trip? How long does it take to get to Disneyland?
Well, I'm going down to Southern California for other reasons, and then we're gonna pop over
Cool.
for a day.
Ash, how's Ottawa?
It's pretty cold still. Lady Ash and I went to a concert the other day, and
Ooh.
while I don't like concerts or crowds or loud noises very much, it was still pretty good.
What was the concert?
So Lady Ash has two bands that she would go to concerts for. The first is Coldplay.
Hey, no shame.
I probably
love
wouldn't
Coldplay.
come near to that, but the second
I'd
is
go.
Imagine Dragons. And
Oh,
let me tell you,
my
they
goodness.
put on a good show. You know,
They're on my list to go to.
yeah, they get a lot of hate, but the guy was like very wholesome the entire time, and a lot of energy, and they really exhausted at the end, which is nice.
Oh yeah.
Did you like that?
I'm going to Buble at the end of the month.
I love
Very
Buble.
different.
I like Buble. I mean, as the years have gone on, I have come around to the idea that he's just kind of copying Frank Sinatra. But hey, Frank Sinatra
Yes.
is really good.
Yes.
The
And
voice of
Frankie
an
Valli.
angel in the face of an angel.
He's
Maybe
a
the
cherub.
body of an angel. Yeah.
Probably
Yes,
the body.
nah.
Yeah.
I have a new dog.
Yeah.
Yay! What's
and
his name?
I named him Gear after the Hound of Shadow.
Nice.
Ooh.
I recorded a chat with Joanna about Midnight Tides and Bonehunters, and the files are gone.
Oh,
no.
Yeah. She sent them to me, and I was like, oh, they're in my inbox, so I have them. And I didn't realize the service she used, it's like the links expire. So like a
Oh.
week later, when I went to actually edit it, it was gone.
What, does she still have the raw files?
No.
Oh
Oh
no.
no.
Yeah. I was devastated. I felt so stupid. And it's the first video I've tried to put out in like months.
I've done that before for this podcast, actually.
Ouch.
That's why we have like 3 backups.
Yep.
Well, 2 backups.
I might go hiking in the woods next week for
Ooh.
2 days. So if I die out there and you guys don't hear
No.
from me, that's why.
No, you can't.
Try not to die.
I hope not, because I need to finish this damn series before I die.
Wait, why? Is there a chance of you dying? Like, where are you going?
I mean, anytime you go out into the woods and hike for
Okay,
2 days,
fine.
there's a chance of you dying. You could just fall, or like
How
be
high
attacked
is
by
this
an
risk?
animal, or it's never happened so far. So far, I have
There's
a
always rain
100% win rate.
Okay.
Yeah, like I mean, you could have a stroke and be in the middle of the woods, and that's it.
That's true.
Yeah, there's just all kinds of things that are brought into play that you would never think of. But so far, I've survived, and we bring Benadryl and other things to
Okay.
to prepare for possible mortality. But
I don't think Benadryl will help very much with that.
Yeah, when you have
anaphylactic
allergies.
shock. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's true.
one of the guys we're going with is allergic to yellow jackets. So,
Oh dear.
Yellow jackets are really more of a problem late fall when it's getting cold and
Okay.
only the males are left and they're trying to just kill and eat until they all die off. They're horrible creatures. But you bring Benadryl when you go on these hikes because you're not going to the hospital, it would be a process.
I see. Okay, don't die.
Sounds like an
I will
outdoors
try.
I've been good. Still unemployed, but not really searching. I'm going to Singapore next week to meet one of our other green team casters, Dusty. I'm
Yes.
excited for that.
Woo!
Oh, and I lost 4 kilos so far, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Oh, congrats. Good 4
Thanks.
kilos of cocaine. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
like that's how I lost it. It's just I took all the cocaine out of my diet.
Who uses kilo? Sorry. The American saying it. Anyway,
I'm an American. I switched because it's better.
It is
because
better.
you live in Japan.
So Ashley,
Yeah, I don't know what 4 kilos is in pounds. So
more than 8?
okay, that's
I
significant.
think it's like 11, something like that. Pretty.
I guess it's better than using stones.
Yeah, stone is the worst.
No.
The benefit of switching to kilos from pounds, if you're not used to it, or at least one of them is, you don't have all these preconceptions in your mind of what like a healthy kilo weight is. So, for example, for Lady Ash, this is very helpful because she's had, eating disorders in the past. So, if you're anorexic, then watching this number on the scale go down is like it's a big thing.
Yeah.
But it's easier if you switch the units.
Oh, I didn't know.
Mhm.
Good to know.
4 kilos is 8.8 pounds.
Okay.
Nice.
Ash was way off.
Way off.
But what else is new?
Oof. So, before we go into the first chapter for this, I forgot to bring something up last episode. We should talk about it.
Okay.
In the big magic battle, when the Eater were like doing their chaos magic ritual thing, trying to attack the Malazans, Samar Dev like just starts dying from it. Like she's like going into anaphylactic shock or something, and she's like freaking out and can't breathe. And then she gets near Karsa, and she's fine. Now, I'm not sure why. It could be the Odotarl stuff for why she started feeling fine. And it could be also somebody theorizes in the chapters we read this time, so that's the benefit of talking about it this time, that some people are a warren unto themselves when they're talking about Karsa.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of which is the reason why being near him was helpful for her, why is Samar Dev allergic to chaos? What's the deal there? And I was just wondering, I mean, I'm sure the veterans already actually know the answer, but whatever they can say and then whatever Panda thinks, just curious what the deal is here.
I would say that Samar Dev is a very ordered person. And we've seen this a lot with her. She's big into civilization, she's big into research, she's big into setting things in their proper place.
Scientific method.
Yeah, and the unleashing of chaos energy affects everyone to some extent. I think it affects her particularly bad because of her affinity for order and her distaste for chaos.
What
What
about,
he said.
I think that's a good explanation. I never thought
do you
about
think it has anything to do with her being a witch?
I think her being a witch is part of her desire to impose order on the world. And the fact that she's so sophisticated in it, apparently, according to herself. Like, for example, she's much better than Feather Witch, she thinks.
I think she's much better than Feather Witch too. I don't like Feather Witch.
She's
it.
definitely
What,
more fun
what
to talk
value are we judging her by? Feather Witch is probably more powerful.
Maybe. Any
We
thoughts, Panda? Or just what he said?
What he said. That's the easy
Okay.
way out.
what she
I mean,
said.
I think it's also a possibility that like she is pretty sensitive to sorcery, and that was
She's an
a
empath.
lot. Yeah, it was a lot of sorcery.
Right on.
So that's
We
it.
good to
Chapter
start?
21.
Excellent. Felicin Younger settles into her new role and makes a few changes to the apocalypse. Ganos gains a few new recruits. Shadowthrone plays a trick on the Eater, and the Bone Hunters take a shortcut, and Lacine arrives in Malaz City.
So I talked crap about Erickson not using illusion magic enough. Next chapter, Erickson uses illusion magic.
Pretty significant use of it, too.
Pretty important, yeah.
I totally forgot when I was saying that. I totally forgot about this scene.
Well, don't forget
Yep.
Quick Ben also used illusion magic to dispel the,
Oh
stuff
yeah,
with
but
the Eater.
I did give credit for that when I was talking crap.
Right,
This
right.
this is something I completely forgot about.
And it wasn't big and it wasn't showy. It did exactly what it wanted to do.
And it was great. It was a great use of illusion magic and the use of Makra to make these people who should know better more gullible, so they buy it.
Yeah, it seems like they just all could have took the stupid pill. Like, oh no, everything that we did is all for naught.
But then it didn't work for that long.
Yeah, it did. They left that throne alone.
Well,
Uh,
yeah,
Went there, they saw it was gone, they just left.
Yeah.
Guardians
Yeah,
are the
that
one
was
that
what it was
noticed.
supposed to do.
yeah, but the people that were guarding it were still not safe.
Oh, I think a lot of
Different
that.
throne.
Yeah, there are two thrones being defended here by Shadow Throne.
Wow.
This
Yeah,
one is the throne of Shadow, and the other one was the throne of the
First Empire.
The first
The
one.
Talani
Moss.
mask, yeah.
Talani versus First Empire, not the First Empire. First Empire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's not
So-
confusing at all.
So at this throne, you would have had Traveler defending it with the sword from Anderist if they didn't go this illusion route. Like they had been throwing people at Traveler and whoever else
Right.
Shadowthrone had guarding it off camera, basically. So they showed up to sick Ikarium on Traveler, and the throne's destroyed, supposedly.
Uh-huh.
And then the other throne, where the action of the book takes place later, is the Talani Mass one.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, that definitely tripped me up the first time I read it, and I didn't realize until after the book was over. And I was reading on Reddit about it because I was also confused.
Why are there two thrones? Why are they defending these two thrones? Why are there two plot lines in this book about defending thrones?
Yeah.
Because it's a mirror to the House of Chains thing.
I mean, it's important, but it's confusing at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in the House of Chains they were like more separated, and
Yes.
like Drift of Ali was like a setting for a lot longer, so it was a lot less confusing, more clear.
Yes.
And as to the being effective for the defenders, like, yeah, a lot of demons died and potentially other entities. But I think that Shadow Throne like made a very calculated bet that he would need to sacrifice like X amount to make the destruction of the throne believable, or more believable.
Oh yeah, because if he had just done that from the beginning, they would have been like, why?
Yeah.
I see.
Especially given that he like wants to sit on it.
Sit on it, Shadow Throne.
He needs to just like clone himself or something.
Wouldn't that be excellent? Just a bunch of Shadow Thrones running through the world.
That sounds awful.
Okay,
There would
maybe
be no
not, just kidding.
problems, you know? He would just fix everything behind the scenes.
So much
Doesn't he kind of have that going on already though? Like he's probably in more than one place at the same time. He's like spread pretty thin. Like gods.
Is he? Oh,
He himself,
I
I
didn't get
don't
that
think, is in
impression.
more than one place.
Yeah,
I've gotten. So I don't know if I don't think it's like confirmed, but I've gotten the feeling that gods are not like necessarily only manifested in one place at one time. They're like operating in multiple places, and they're just like kind of embodied in one place, maybe.
Everywhere, all the time.
Not
Oh,
necessarily everywhere, but I don't know. That's kind of the
Yeah.
impression I've gotten through osmosis in the world, but maybe I'm wrong.
I do think gods have like a distributed consciousness to some extent. But as far as like Shadow Throne like walking around with his cane, I think that's one guy.
That's
like,
only one. Right, okay.
Like one avatar of him, and he's just kind of going around traveling the Shadow Warren to make it, fast travel.
Well, you got like Diet Shadow Throne with this girl pust.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he keeps them around.
Shadow Throne late. Very late.
Hmm. Doesn't have that cool cane. I love Shadow
No.
Throne's
Yeah,
Oh.
he just has the mule.
I like his giggles.
cane. I'd kill the mule.
The giggles. I don't have actually that much to say about this chapter. The couple things that I noted were we quote unquote see sort of or at least hear about Animander's son, Nimander. Great names.
Isn't it yeah, I hate Namander's name.
Did we first hear about him in House of Chains, or is this the first we're hearing about
His
him?
House of Chains.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Honestly, don't
But
remember.
we got a lot less information about him, House of Chains,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like barely a mention.
And Nimander
And-
himself is a dad. Wild.
Yes, of many.
At least a few.
Some with envy, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Who also slept with his dad. It's not weird.
But who is Nimander's mother?
Yeah, I was wondering, and I'm hoping it's not
Also envy. Yeah.
I was wondering.
Or-
That's kind of what I was
Spite.
thinking.
How about
Spite is the
Solana?
best answer. Solana?
Solana.
I don't think
Oh, yeah,
Spite
Solana.
slept with Animander Rake, did she?
You don't know who slept with who. They've had a long time to get
Yeah,
around.
they've been around for a while.
Eskimo brother. What? Nothing. Foreigner. Cartheron Crust makes an appearance again, and I went back. I had to like look it up on Search of the Fallen. I was like, okay, he's shown up before, and that's when I realized, oh, he's the one that saved Cole's life in Gardens of the Moon.
What?
When because Foreigner, like, Cole was like riding back right into the city. Is that not right? Wasn't he? And then he was like going to, actually, honestly, I don't remember. But I just
don't
know.
either. I'm fine just going with what you're saying.
Well, okay. hold on.
Foreigner is Withal.
No.
Yeah, Foreigner is
No.
definitely Withal. Cartheron
No.
Crest is different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Foreigner's Withal.
totally.
He's
What?
definitely Withal. Yeah.
Okay.
Foreigner's Withal. He's married to that Tice chick, and she's like taken
Sandaleth?
over matronage of Nimander and Co.
Have I been reading this wrong this entire time?
I guess so.
So
'Cause I'm-
Cartheron was in Deadhouse Gates. He was the captain of the ship that taxied Kalam and Pearl to Malaz City when they were trying to go to Unta. And they
Okay.
showed up in Malaz City instead.
Right. Okay. I remember there was one of the crusts from Deadhouse Gates
Oh yeah, there's also Urko.
that was revealed. But
Or he's in House of Chains, never mind.
in Gardens, there was a guy, Foreigner, I think it was in chapter 17, or where was this?
In
That
Garden?
had, yeah.
Paran is the one that saved Cole in Gardens.
Hold
Paran
on.
on one side and Ralik on the other.
No, like, Irilta and Mies were talking. Said he found Cole on Jamet's worry, bleeding all over the place. Cole woke up long enough to tell him to ride here. The guy's downstairs in the bar right now eating an
Yeah, it's
Epilogue.
Paran. He's downstairs
my
looking at
God.
his sword crying.
Oh my god.
He's not really crying.
Oh
I'm
my god.
exaggerating,
I
but
totally forgot about that.
I only remember because I've read it so many dang times.
You can cut that out. You can cut this
Nope.
whole section out.
Nope.
No,
No,
these
because
books are
then-
confusing.
Then Mies grunted. She was like, foreigner? And then I was like, oh, is that what she's
Oh.
calling him? This
But it's
is
just
the
'cause he's
Googling
foreign.
without context situation happening.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
Foreigner's Withal.
Foreigner's Withal.
Okay.
He's very foreign.
What do they call crust?
I
forgot.
forget because in this they only call him Crust,
No.
right?
they called
But
something before
no.
that.
Do they?
Yeah, I think they still call him something before. He's like, hey, don't say that name.
I remember him saying,
Then
"Don't say
later-
that name," but I don't remember anyone calling him anything else.
Oh my god.
It's not important, but
In Deadhouse Gates, he had another name though. I forget what it
Yeah.
is though.
yeah, as the captain of the Racket Stopper. Maybe they just called him Captain.
I feel like
we
he had a
should-
fake name.
He probably
We
Anyway.
should talk. We should talk about Fellison Younger.
I agree.
Yes. I accidentally started talking about it in the previous episode and then realized the scene wasn't in that part. So I thought it was interesting that Erickson highlighted that Perron doesn't know that this woman's name was Fellison.
Yeah, he's gonna go meet her, and then came out Matlock, and he's like, Matlock, I'm gonna join you. You should kill all these people. It's like, I couldn't do it. I can't do it either. We're gonna be best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then Herlokel's like, hey, yeah, so that lady's a Malazan, and he just forgot to tell Perron, which is a shame in my opinion. So
Mhm.
close.
Unlucky.
So what would happen if Perron had known? Would he have found out more about what happened to his sister, or
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he would have found out that she was Shaik, and then that Tavor killed her, which pretty big revelation, in my opinion.
I wonder how that would affect the end of the series.
Who knows?
You do, where you have
Yeah,
at least
well.
an idea, a better idea.
I do. But Fellison Younger herself, like this is so sad. Just seeing the degeneration of a character, and yeah, it seems like it's kind of hopeless for her right now. Ganos just doesn't care enough to try.
Well, she started the new Christianity, right?
Hey, shh.
Like there's a lot of parallels there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's kind of New Testament.
It's very this is like a more negative depiction of Christianity than you get in other parts of the series.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah.
It's definitely not meant to be allegorical, though.
A new cult of an old religion
Yeah.
that stopped following the old precepts, and then they're gonna get a new card called Salvation, and they'll be the most dangerous force in the world, and they should kill them now, but they're not going to because that would be bad. But they're probably gonna become too powerful in the future. Although it seems to be kind of based on hedonism.
Yes,
Yeah.
excess specifically, and how that pertains to the apocalypse.
Is this an improvement on the previous iterations of the apocalypse?
At least they're not burning down cities and murdering people and raping them. That's something of an improvement.
Or having a giant whirlwind that like moves around and causes
Yeah.
devastation.
It seems like this cult is mostly focused on hurting yourself through excess instead of hurting
Yeah.
other people, at least.
They're like feederists.
But it's only hedonism for the ones on top of the church, right? Don't they incorporate like, oh, you have to serve in life so you can have hedonism in the afterlife?
That is part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Fellison Younger is like, but what about me? I'm experiencing hedonism in this life. And then the person's like, you're the example. So
Well, it was also you didn't have a choice of being chosen to be Shaik Reborn, so you basically get a free pass because this is your way of serving.
Is to show everyone what heaven will be like.
yeah. Although I like the city is filled with like cripples and diseased people. I can't imagine that would lead to good sex. I don't know. I don't know. Never mind. No, I retract that. You know what? The maimed are just as capable of sexual fulfillment as the rest of us.
Extra kinky.
Yeah, well.
I'm imagining really gross things. Let's move on to the next chapter.
Wait, before we do, this guy that was mentioned at the end of this chapter, Aragan.
Aragon!
Oh my god, I love Aragan.
I was like, okay, where have I seen this name before? I totally forgot.
Chapter 1.
He's the recruiting officer when she wasn't
Yeah.
Absolar back then.
Mhm.
Sorry.
And
Mhm.
he was the captain of security at Moxhold when Kalam attacked
really?
Lysine. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, so I've made a joke about Aragon basically, like, the Malazan Book of the Fallen is just indirectly chronicling the rise of Aragon's career, like through all the
Through the
books.
ranks.
He's not in every single book, but
No.
he does show up in a lot of them, and every time he's got a better job. And he's always like kind of on the edge of the important events and not like involved. He's probably a noble or something. He's usually got a headache or is drunk.
Mm.
And,
Hmm.
yeah.
That is true, huh?
I
Yeah.
I think that
Oh, go ahead.
I think Steve just included him as like an in joke between him and Cam. Like maybe Aragon was like really important in their games, or maybe he was just always the joke of being not important but periphery.
Yeah,
I
I think
don't
he
know.
was probably just an NPC that kept showing up in places. It's like, oh, here he is again.
He's got
Probably
a
didn't want to make up a new name
promotion,
or anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
does make it easier.
and it's not this chapter, but later he kind of meets Epsilar again.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, something I feel obligated to mention was the parish. They've been planning this for a long time, it seems. About 2 years
Yeah.
is when they started the
Wow.
ritual to get the, yeah.
Is that
Hmm.
Talking Fandray, doing some stuff behind the
the
scenes.
timing of that is interesting. How long has it been since Memories of Ice?
Probably about 2 years. I don't know.
Yeah, Steve, he'll be like, I don't know how long it needs to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's fair. I forgot.
So
you can't
the
ignore
2
the
years-
timeline.
The 2 years is just a placeholder, basically.
Yeah, it's like this has been in the works for a while now. And that's
It's like
odd.
this takes a lot of effort. And we've
I'm
been
just
planning
trying
it
to
for a while.
figure out if the existence of these Destriant Shield Anvil Mortal Sword with the parish means that our boys in the Grey Company or whatever they were called,
Gray swords.
Gray swords.
Grey Swords are dead. Basically, is what I'm trying to figure.
You know what's
And
really
if so, for how long?
Hmm.
what's really hard with this series is I don't really get a sense of seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like
very bizarre.
on Seven Cities, like it's definitely closer to the equator than most places. So that one sort of makes sense because it's just kind of hot all the time.
Hmm.
But yeah, in
Ganabakis.
Ganabakis, yeah, and
It's
more
always
fuzzy.
like temperate, right?
I guess that
Do they
makes
have
it a little
seasons, maybe?
easier. I mean, it's on the same. The world, the world they're on is round, right? And
We have seasons because of the tilt.
That's true.
do they not have a? Well, okay, maybe I'm presuming
Yeah.
too much.
I don't know. I guess we have to ask Erickson if the World of Woo has an.
Have they
axial
mentioned
tilt.
other seasons at all?
I don't
Well,
really remember.
There have been.
Yes, because
Yeah, because the
Hybrid
winter.
summer.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's
That
possible
was
they're
a
much more mild though.
It's just
I
not
don't know.
very
Steve probably
apparent.
just didn't think about it.
Erickson's not big on it, so it doesn't matter.
I think a lot of the reason for that is because he wants to associate ice so strongly with the Jagat.
You're
Sure.
And
it's gonna be Jagga, yeah.
yeah, it'd probably be confusing to people if he was mentioning it a lot in other places as well, but I don't know. Yeah.
Every time I hear ice, I think, oh man, Jaghat's somewhere.
Yeah, right.
I guess that makes it easier. Yeah.
Next chapter. Next chapter.
Oh wait, no, I have a quote.
Next chapter.
I don't remember who said this. I think it was Peron. Nothing is gained by inflicting yet more atrocities in answer to past ones.
That was
Hi. Yeah,
was Peron,
that's
yeah.
a good way to view life. I don't think
Pass
that
on your trauma.
Yeah, or just like how does hurting people make things better? Answer: most of the time it doesn't. Like sometimes like incidental to the hurting someone, then something can be made better. But like for example, I view like torture as maybe just one of the most morally reprehensible things you can do. It's just pain for pain's sake to make someone feel bad a lot of the time. And yeah, this doesn't help anybody except for maybe a sadist.
You know this whole. Sorry, this is gonna be a tangent. Like hurting someone to get information out of them, like that whole device.
Yeah.
It's really
Doesn't work.
dumb.
Yes, because it doesn't work.
Well, because like, okay, the person who's being hurt, like if like if you're gonna give the information, then you're done anyway. Like there is no win here.
Yeah, and people just say what like when they're being tortured. If they break, what they do is they just say whatever they think the person torturing them wants to hear. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's true or not. They just want to stop, even if it's found out to be false later.
Which it usually
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, people have done this for hundreds of years and they still torture each other. So
Anyway, that just really annoys me.
It irritates me in fiction when it feels like the author is not making that clear that it doesn't work. And like
24.
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very heroic of Jack Bauer to torture all those terrorists.
Mm.
Sign of the
Anyway.
times. That quote reminds me of really just about any war where after the war they made the losing side pay dearly. And that always works out, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
That's how we got World War II.
And
Definitely
I
a
messed
big
up
part of
south
it.
after the Civil War.
Yeah.
All right, Chapter 22. Fiddler plays a game with his new cards. Pearl gets a promotion. Opon makes a reappearance. Devore sets out for a meeting with the boss. Hellion goes for a swim and makes a timely arrest. And Fiddler acquires his eponymous instrument. Good job, Fiddler.
Okay, we have to just talk about Fiddler's game. Come on.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Well, Deck of Dragons. Woo.
Did anyone else write down all of the stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, me too.
I knew you guys were going to.
Okay. Shall I just list them out then?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah?
Fiddler, he got Soldier of High House Life and Priest of Life. What does that mean?
He plays the fiddle. He does the dirge in memory of people's lives. So like in a way, he's kind of doing a funeral for people.
Yeah.
Like they all say their names, and then he adds them to the list, and then he plays out, and then like he's able to
spoilers for
find some
chapter
kind of
23, by the way.
catharsis through that. Yes, spoilers for the catharsis we're discussing.
We
But,
gave that
yeah.
spoiler warning at the beginning of the episode.
Mhm.
And I think some people probably listen like one episode at a time or one chapter at a time. I don't know.
Yeah. They just like pause it, and they're like, when I'm done the next chapter, I can move on.
Oh, I'm so sorry because we get all over the place.
I know.
Yeah, it's just how it is.
No one listens like that, I think. If they
No.
do, I'm sorry. That sounds awful.
I've done that with 10 Very Big Books, but then I take the L when they say something from.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really
I
get
see.
upset about it. Either way, empty chair. Who's the empty chair? Because they got Weaver of Life.
I don't know.
Ah, I just figured out. Okay, the empty chair's bottle because he's serving drinks, and Weaver of Life is
okay, so it is
Agala.
bottle because he it was mentioned before, like, oh, he set a cup in front of his empty chair or something.
And Weaver of Life is Agala because he makes a gala later in the city. Who is a
I think-
character from Knight of Knives.
Oh.
Fiddler's card could mean, now I may only think this because I haven't figured it out, who Stormy is the shield anvil of, but he gets the priest and soldier of High House Life, so like that could have something to do with who he's with when he plays the dirge. Like the priest could be the shield anvil, and maybe Gessler's whatever the other thing is. I don't know.
But then,
That's good reading.
who is the House of Life?
And who is Stormy the shield anvil of?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like I should know, but I don't.
Mm.
I mean, they were like Fenner guys, but Fenner's not around. Fenner's like AWOL in the mortal realm, so
we're probably not going to hear from Fenner again.
Okay.
Did you guys catch who the Knight of High House Shadow was?
Yeah. Troll.
Bro,
Oh, that's so cool.
He's so cool. Oh god, I love Troll.
I was very excited when, like, I figured it out before they basically told you.
It's like he's got gray skin. He's holding a spear. Who could it be?
Could it be
Yeah.
so mysterious? So many spear wielders in this.
Oh, so many. Can't keep track of them all.
Not
all
enough,
right.
really.
What are the other cards?
Kalam. He got Obelisk, Herald of Death, and what connects the two is the King of High House Shadow.
Right. So, is the obelisk that is Dead House?
I
I
think
think
so.
that's what it is here.
Yeah.
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 I think it's
Okay.
the Azath. So
Yeah.
what connects him to the Azath was, the King of Shadow, which is Shadow Throne, right? Because he
Yeah,
dragged
Shadow
him there.
Throne literally dragging him over the threshold later
Well,
on.
his wraiths did.
Yes.
He at least told people to do it,
Yeah.
which is the same
Um.
thing.
So that means that the Herald of Death is, well, the inactive version is Pearl.
Oh, yeah. See, I thought maybe the Herald of Death was Kalam himself because he kills so many people, but I think it's a good reading.
I think
'Cause
it's
it says-
fuzzy. I
Or,
think it's deliberately ambiguous.
well, the obelisk also like represents time. So couldn't that just have been like foreshadowing that Kalam gets taken out? Time, Herald of Death, he gets taken out.
That could be.
I think
reason
I,
why-
I
Like
do
it doesn't
think
have to be a
Obelisk is more
person,
linked.
right?
No, I do think the Obelisk is more linked to the Azath than
It's
anything else, though.
been
Been linked to
linked to
Karul, too.
time in multiple readings throughout
Sure.
the series.
cards
yeah, I
are
think it's also
cards are
been-
pretty malleable.
But this one specifically, he says sleeping goddess, which to
Hmm.
me doesn't really.
Well, that's
Say
Burn.
time.
Yeah, and I think the Azaths are associated with Burn, right?
Oh, are they? Because I haven't figured that
Eh.
one out.
Yes.
I don't
They're
know.
mysterious.
She hasn't been mentioned in like books, like books and
sleeping.
books. Isn't she like poisoned? What happened to the poisoned Warrens?
Oh,
that
she's
whole
still
thing?
poisoned.
Yeah, but Kalam or Quickbin kind of solved that issue.
Quickbin
at
gave
least for the time
her
being.
more time.
2 ibuprofen
I
in the
see.
form of the Jaghut sorcery.
So
so her
that's
fever's,
like
like, gone down a little bit.
alleviating.
That's
Okay,
putting a
alright.
Band-Aid on it for now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Problem's
basically,
definitely still there.
Yeah,
they're
it's just
like, let's put a
nobody's
pin in
said
this
anything.
until book 10.
Okay. It was such
No-
a big deal, and I was like,
Yeah,
I'm
it was.
surprised nobody's said anything. Like, this
I
whole
can promise
War
you
of the
that there are a
Gods.
lot of concerned individuals working very hard on it that we're just not getting access to.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Absolar was Assassin of High House Shadow. I think
She
Fiddler
wins
himself says
and
big
loses.
surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does win and lose.
Quickbin, Life Stealer, Consort in Chains, and Knight of Shadow. So Knight of Shadow obvious, Life Stealer obvious, Icarium in case it's not obvious.
What I really liked about this one is like after we read all these chapters and going back to
Mhm.
this game, you're like, oh, because when there was Troll calls him the Sita because that's the term that he knows. I was like, the Sita? Who? What? And I was like, wait, this gotta be Quickbin. And when Kalam had used the acorn and Quickbin opened up the warren to go in, there was that little line of hey hey hey, here's
Someone
you
giggling.
like paying your debt.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I
the
was like,
giggle.
he's not going where Kalam wants him to go.
I didn't
Nope.
get that the first time because he called it a sibilant voice, and I don't think he's ever described Shadow Throne as having a sibilant voice. And Malik Rel is always described as having a sibilant voice. So I was like, what's Malik Rel doing with Quickbin, huh?
Oh.
And it took me like getting to the end, and then
I thought it was
Yeah,
really
like,
good
I
how
think it was like Shadow Throne being like really gloating and in a childish way kind of being sing song.
oh, I see.
Look at you.
I thought it was really cool how Malik Rel kind of prevented Quickbin from interfering using the. I don't know. I like the way it was written by opening all these warrens around him and kind of trapping him inside the boat. That's later though.
And also just straight up got Captain Rennig to tell him, "You're not allowed. You're anyone else can accompany to war, not you."
Consort in Chains.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who got
Why-
Consort in Chains?
Quickbin.
Quickbin.
I
Ash, do you-
think that was just kind of a reference to Quickben having this obligation that he was then dragged off to fulfill.
Because
I
that
don't know.
was the. Oh no. Never
I have an
mind.
idea what it is, but it's spoilery, so I don't want to say it.
Which book does it spoil?
I don't want to say. It's kind of like mixes of 8 and 10 and Carcanus. So
I
I
see.
see. Okay.
I think Ash knows what I'm talking about.
I think I know, but
Mm.
yep. Maybe we can talk about it in our spoilers episode.
Maybe. Okay, next.
Is that all the
Tamper?
cards?
Tamber,
No.
yeah. Tamber got Life Stealer. No, sorry. She got Throne, which is a pivot, and the Virgin of Death.
Mm. Yeah, I think the Virgin of Death was because she's marked for death. Definitely not a virgin, right?
Yeah.
You presume too much.
They're just really
Yeah,
good
no,
friends.
her and Tavor were just practicing their sword fighting together.
That's what she
Uh,
said.
with their
Yeah,
swords.
exactly. I think Throne because she was used as a vessel by the
Aerosol.
Aerosol, yeah.
And a pivot because she was really, really important.
She was pivotal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
They would
does
have
the
definitely died without her.
Why does the aerosol know so dang much about why Tavor's important and all
The
that
He's a
aerosol-
stuff?
time traveler.
The aerosol is unstuck from time. The aerosol is Slaughterhouse 5. The aerosol is embodying the B theory of time.
Oh, nice connection.
Yep.
I love that book.
It's so good.
Keneb got a ton of cards.
He did.
Throne of High House War, the Lord of Wolves, Spinner of Death, Queen of Dark, Queen of Life, and King in Chains.
So the Spinner of Death was just relating to him lying about the plague.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. Queen of Dark, I can't say, but I know who that is.
Queen of Dark? Is it a Thai standee?
I could have just referred to the Thai standee in this case.
Sure. Queen of
But
Life.
then there's
King
Queen
in...
of Life.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Would the this might be a big stretch. The Maib from Memories? Is that?
Keneb has no connection to her that I know of.
But
she could have been an embodiment of that at some point. I think that's probably a fair bit of speculation.
well, she's not dead.
No, she's giving life to an
sleeping.
entire realm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's worth noting here that Fiddler was talking about his wife and how he's not going to really see her again.
Yeah, she's found someone else.
Yeah,
Maybe
I mean,
maybe it's related to that.
but what? I don't really remember his wife. She was like very timid.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just blah. He
Yeah.
wants her to be happy. That's all we know.
Yeah, so like, why even bring it up?
I don't. I think it was maybe just Steve wanting to tie off something that like he had set up in one way in Dead House Gates, and then like
No.
the rest of the series we don't see Keneb
It
talking.
was set
about
up earlier in this book at some point where he was thinking about her and like whether or not she ended up with somebody else and how awkward it would be if they if he comes back to Unta and like how he wouldn't like really fit into her life anymore.
He's thought
So it
about
was
her and
like-
mentioned her a few times.
It was like a relief for him to hear that she had moved on and that he wasn't going to be back there, which is why he won when he lost or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was just like for his character basically.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
just
not
seemed
big
out
plot.
of place.
Yeah, it does seem out of place, like comparing it to everything else. You're like, hey, we got this important stuff, this important stuff, this important stuff, and Keneb, your wife's doing good. Good for you.
She's having an affair, and
Yep.
yay.
It ends in King in Chains. I don't want to say anything there. Any
Well, I
thoughts?
mean, wasn't the King in Chains in reference to the guy that she's cheating on him with? No?
Could be.
Exent, whatever this name is. Exent Header?
Not important. It's never
Yeah.
going to come up again.
So my theory as to why it's not out of place is that these cards are used often to like read people's future and place in the world, and Keneb just doesn't have the same like level of placement among like the powers of the world as people like Fiddler and Tavor and Tamber and all these others. So it's like
That's certainly
he
true.
basically got like a fortune telling
I see.
like reading
So then-
while everybody else is like getting these crazy like high up there stuff, you know. I don't know.
So the King in Chains has nothing to do with the crippled god.
I mean, the card certainly does in some readings. I don't know if it does in this case.
Maybe. I'm not saying. Grub. He says he'll die. He's not at the reading, but he says he'll dive off and meet 3 friends, crown, scepter, and orb.
So how's that book going? Yes, nah.
I haven't met Grub in it yet, that's for sure. Spoilers for Scepter Throne. I'm halfway through, there's no Grub.
I think
Um,
it's just talking about the Nox, because Grub meets the Nox in the cave in Laz Island.
What are the Nox exactly?
Or it's something that happens in the future with Grub, because we know he's pretty important.
He
Subtle.
goes to meet 3 friends in a cave and their soul taken. Are we supposed to know who these people are separate from that?
So, okay, this is like later on in the sections that we read where like Withal shows up, but we can talk about that later. Because I was surprised, which now in hindsight, like if I had just remembered that Foreigner is Withal, then I would not have been surprised.
And lastly, the adjunct got House of War, Guardian of the Road, or Guardians of Death, Opon, Master of the Deck. Oh, not last. Bottles last.
Bottle slap.
Adjunct's probably the most important, though.
House of War, I assume that's related to the parish.
Oh, so
I
the
would
Guardians
agree.
of the Road or the Dead is the parish.
Could be.
Could be.
Opon is Opon.
Yep. Opon is unwelcome.
I like the Opon sections in chapter 23.
Well, it was saying like there were decisions yet to be made.
A lot of decisions.
By
Yep.
whom?
By
By-
Tavor, by Kalam, by Lazine,
By all these people.
like
Okay.
everybody.
So it's just
Pearl.
like, okay, it's up in the air how this is gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is like Lazine says later, is like this is like one of the turning points in the Malazan Empire. And
Mhm.
And last, Bottle got Death Slayer.
Which is the crippled god.
Could be.
something.
Mm.
I have no idea, actually.
Well, that was the reading before when they were like looking at these new cards.
This one I
Yeah,
have no
that-
idea. So if any listeners want to help us out or make any theories for any of these that we might have gotten wrong, and I'm sure we got a few wrong.
And nobody
Yeah.
wins.
Kieran gets everything wrong.
Cool.
Let's see.
We done talk about the cards?
I don't have anything more to say about them.
I'm good.
Cool. I loved the part when the Jakatakan fleet came and Tavor just told them off. And it was awesome. And then they went away and everybody, all the 14th army was just pooping at them.
And Solanda, they put the heads on the prow and they made them smile.
Just giving them
happy.
another view, you know?
Yeah, I really loved
The
it.
timing is a coincidence.
Though it makes me hate Lacine so much, as
Yeah.
everything in this ending does.
Yeah.
I mean, like, in Deadhouse Gates, you see the purge of the nobility, and at first you're pissed, but then throughout the book, you're kind of like, that's probably necessary. And then, like, you see the corruption of the nobles within the army and how it's messing everything up, and you're like, maybe Lacine's all right. And then now she's, like, leaning on them against her loyal army. It just makes me so mad. My blood boils.
Yeah. I think most people feel that way. But Tavor was great in this section because she's like, hey, if I see one more hand casually touch a sword grip, then they can swim back to their ship.
I loved it.
And
Mhm.
yes, and she did the meeting on the deck where everyone could see and everyone could hear, which is not like her because she for the first time ever wanted everybody to know the situation and what's going on.
I think she probably had to do that.
Oh, I agree, especially
'Cause
if she wants
otherwise,
to push Kalam into the position that he takes later.
yeah, and also like the 14th and the Wiccans might have thought that she was going to sell them out if she didn't do it that way.
I know Pearl's kind of a for what he does later, but he also calls
Kind of.
out Lacine on her BS.
A little bit.
I mean, later on, he calls himself a coward, but he's
Yeah,
just like,
'cause
hey,
he is.
you should listen to Tavor. She knows what she's talking about. And he's like, oh, this is a great quote. Instead, we are tainted. Faith and loyalty vanish. All that gifts us with pride becomes stained. The Malazan Empire ceases to have heroes, and without heroes, Empress, we will self-destruct. He's talking about, throwing away the Wiccans.
Hey, Lazine does take steps to make new heroes.
Mm.
So disgusting.
I like Lazine. I understand what she's going for. I don't agree with most of her actions here, but I understand why she made them, and I can't seriously fault her for a lot of them.
Why does Lysine want power? Like, why does she want to be Empress?
I think that her entire motivation to be Empress is so that she can keep the Empire together.
I agree.
I just don't buy it.
She thinks the Empire is a good thing and is willing to do almost anything to protect it.
Like that's nearly all of the actions that she's done just taken would
Yeah.
lead to that interpretation, in my opinion.
Like
as well.
she doesn't care about people liking her. She doesn't care about her own happiness. Like all she cares about is ensuring that this thing that she's built together with Kellenved and Dancer and all the others stays together.
Which book, like outside of the main 10, would I get her like backstory or like get to know more of her motivations?
I think you necessarily need to, but you could read the Path to Ascendancy.
That
And
House Landing.
Return of the Crimson
Return of the
Guard, you get a
Crimson
lot of
Guard.
her perspective as well.
Yeah, that one too, a little bit.
But I think everything she told Kalam in Deadhouse Gates at the end was like her truth, if that makes sense.
Like that is sufficient enough to establish her motivations.
I think. Well, I mean, from other things that her other actions that she takes, including selling out the Wiccans or getting in bed with Malak Rel.
But that's like you having to like infer more rather than it being more explicitly like shown to you.
I mean, that's the kind of characterization.
There is a degree of ambiguity, but I think that there are readings that make sense and there are readings that don't make sense. And the reading that makes the most sense to me is the one I gave where it's like she is this cold person who does think that she's doing the right thing because why else would she be doing it unless she's like just a megalomaniacal sadist.
Yeah.
Which that would be an odd.
That's one way of putting it. But she
just
even seems like hurt that all of these other old guard people are like turning against her, right?
Mhm.
Or maybe I'm reading.
Yeah, you see that a little more
Guard.
in Return of the Crimson Guard, her feelings on that. But I just feel like maybe there was a way to like develop agriculture on the Wiccan Plains without murdering them all and turning Malak Rel into a hero. Like, what was her other motivation? Why does she have to sacrifice the Wiccans? Just because he's like whipped up the mob?
Part of it is because the mob was whipped up and it's going to be almost impossible to root out that bad story now. And part of it was because there are going to be a lot of people starving. That there's nothing they can do about that. So develop the plains into farmland. That's for the future. But for now, she wants to basically give the mobs something to blame that will not cause the empire to fall apart. And the Wiccans are much diminished, and she can use their herds, for example, to feed people in the meantime.
And she couldn't just give them Rel and Corbola Dom like as the scapegoat because
they wouldn't actually be scapegoats. That would be justice.
Sure, right.
It would also be
because the Claw, who she would use to manipulate the mob in the way that she wants them manipulated, are infiltrated by Corbola Dom and his agents, right?
Well, more Malak Rel than Corbola Dom.
Or sorry, I said the wrong name. I meant Malak Rel. Corbola is a dum-dum. I meant Malak Rel and his agents.
And Malak Rel has a ton of political power. Which is why he was so comfortable making the plays he did in Deadhouse Gates and House of Chains that didn't necessarily play out because he knew he had them to fall back on.
And he's also spreading lies among the populace that they believe. And if you were to go against that,
but part of how he was able to do that was from it having the Claw infiltrated, right?
Yeah, part of it.
Part of it, yeah. But also
because the Claw seemed to be like kind of pushing on the mob and like kind of like infiltrating them and making them like adding their voices to them and like kind of controlling the narrative in that way.
The mobs themselves are also influenced by magic.
Chaotic sorcery.
Yeah.
Which
and
like what's
Malak
the
Rel,
source of it? Is it Malak Rel?
Malacrel
I
has
assume
a
so.
lot of access to power through his connection with Mail. It's kind of understated, but that is where a lot of his actual power does come from. But also, yeah, he just hired like a bunch of people to start spreading lies in taverns across the empire. And it'd be like these guys that are like, oh, that campaign that went down this way, well, actually it went down this way. And these dirty foreigners that were added to the army, yeah, they betrayed them. This bastard who we fought against for years and who uh made a quote peace with our guys, yeah, no, he just stabbed us in the back. He's an outsider.
So I think part of like why Lacine went with the rumors and leveraged them and even encouraged them is because she probably felt threatened by Coltane's legacy.
That's
Like
probably also part of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's good reading.
to me, that is a better reason for what she did than necessarily like, oh, I want to keep the empire together. To me, it's a very selfish reason rather than a more
Utilitarian.
yeah.
Well, we don't see her focus on her image in other cases, really.
But it's not really image, it's power. She like to me it's she wants power, and that's why I asked the question like why does she want to be empress or why does she want power?
Right, but why does she want power? I think it's because she feels the need to use it for the empire. I don't think she wants it
And
for
she thinks
herself.
she's the only person, like the best suited.
I think she's incredibly paranoid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Right? So that's
yeah,
why,
she doesn't trust others.
with Coltane, like it's even acknowledged by Pearl, I think, like Coltane's legacy and comparing that to Tavor, like how she's handled um,
Yeah, Tavor
the
seems like a failure
right.
to a lot of people. Yeah,
I still hate Lacine.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
I
I
don't
definitely hate
like
her.
her at all. I mean, I understand her, but like, yeah, she's the worst.
she's not the worst. I
In
think
Okay,
Dead,
I think she's very far from being the worst.
I'm being
in,
hyperbolic, okay?
in
Yeah.
Dead House Gates and Memories of Ice, I had kind of like come back from she's the worst. This book, she's the worst. And like all of the rehabilitation that Cam wants to give her doesn't matter because this book was written.
Okay.
I
I think it's easy to condemn her because we like the Wiccans and
Yeah.
we like the 14th
Exactly.
and we don't like
Exactly.
Malacrel.
Exactly.
But I think that
Yes.
Thank you. You can stop there.
here we go. I think in her place, yeah, like I don't think very many people could do better at all. I think Kellenved could have done better, and like nobody
I
else that
think
in the series.
if
Maybe
Ganowith,
Tehil. Ganos,
Ganowith
maybe.
with
He's
his
never
new
run an empire though.
Master of the Deck powers.
Oh yeah, like if you just introduce OP abilities, then maybe maybe she could have done better. Yes, if Lazine was just more magical, she could have done a better job.
Lacine is
If she
plenty
could have just
magical.
conjured.
She's
No,
a
she's
claw.
not.
She's a
She's-
claw. She can do all kinds of stuff.
She doesn't have magic.
Wait, how can she not have any at all?
She's just really good at hand-to-hand fighting.
Okay, all right. Well, see, but that's the thing is like I know very little about this character. The only things I'm shown, I'm like, I do not like you.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this is really Erickson's fault, okay?
That's I think this is deliberate on his part.
Yeah.
He definitely wanted to show a figure in this world, or multiple figures in this world actually, that you have to see from a distance and have to use incomplete information to piece together a story you think is correct about them. Because should I just say it again? History. Yeah, that's the profession of history right there.
Yeah,
There are a lot of
truth is
people that
malleable and sometimes it's necessary to revise it.
that's part of it, but also like there are a lot of leader figures that, depending on how you look at it, they can be complete monsters or they can be like great leaders. And
Julius Caesar.
we don't
Alexander the
Julius Caesar,
Great.
sure, or Augustus Caesar, literally any Roman leader. There was like Marcus Aurelius, he seemed like a good guy, but he also left them with one of the worst emperors they ever had. So yeah, that's you get like being a leader is tough, man.
I vote to
Yes.
move on.
Yeah. We're not even in the chapter where most of the awful scene stuff takes place, so we just went on and on about it.
I loved Helion's explanation of what an explanation and an excuse is, and it was
It was
hilarious.
funny, and then afterwards, I got really tired of her.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
But
Like-
I love her.
Her
Panda with
as
a
a
hot take.
character, as a joke, just like went on too long for me.
I wouldn't call her a joke, but I do know what you're saying.
Like
and I
using
don't think
her
you're
as
wrong.
a comic relief.
This ending was rough. I needed the comic relief.
It just
Chapter
it was
23?
mostly because like Baniskar.
Baniskar.
Banashar?
He is a
Banashar,
wet
yeah. Banna.
blanket in this. He I think he brings down the narrative.
He was not my favorite, by a long shot. But like, okay, he had a purpose. He was gonna try to go and, make a difference. And then Helion's just like, don't care.
She saved
It's all
him.
about me.
Yeah, she saved his life.
Yeah, he would have
She
for
did.
sure died without her.
That's true. And then she prevents him from doing what he needed to go do.
Yeah, she
What-
takes him to the army.
But
I'm
we
not
find
convinced
out
he
later
was actually
that
going to do
It
anything
won't
with
be.
Tayshrin anyway.
yeah, we
That's
found out
true, he
later
would've-
Tayshrin didn't need to know. He already knew everything.
Yeah.
That's true.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, chapter 23. Keneb engages in some riot control with his friends. Fiddler fiddles. Lazine and Tavor part ways. Kalam takes a nap in the dead house. Apsalar proves a competent dancer. Lostara and Pearl don't work out in the end. And the Bonehunters set sail away from the Empire.
What a chapter.
What a chapter. Big chapter.
Big
Oh,
one.
is it the chapter where Yil kills Tenebralta?
Yep.
Yeah, that was something.
That was
That was
satisfactory.
Awesome. I loved that.
Ever since Deadhouse Gates, when she literally killed like that whole tavern of people, I was just like, man, Lastara, why would you do that? And then we get like kind of closure on that, or she does
Mhm.
at least.
She redeems herself by killing yet another person.
But it's the guy that told her to kill all those people.
But it's a bad person. Yeah, absolutely.
Quit giving us perspective.
Mhm.
It felt good.
That guy would have been trouble.
Mhm.
Yeah, probably. I think you probably just needed therapy.
Okay, but that wasn't gonna happen. Not on the table.
Yeah, no one wanted to do it.
This was not an ideal circumstance. She did what she had to do.
I'm not blaming Lostara here, but I think that she feels awful about having to do this, and
Mhm.
that's fair. I think
Yeah.
that's an appropriate response to having to kill your boss.
And then she has to kill her love.
I don't know.
Yep.
She had a tough time.
She did have a tough time. She continues to have a tough time.
She needs therapy.
She needs,
Yeah, she needs
what she needs? She needs a gal pal.
But she's not a
Hey.
lesbian.
Tavor's open. Tavor's lost
See?
her only person.
She
She's
doesn't
like,
want that.
I'm not. I don't need lovers. Right? I was like, no, not that.
Yeah,
okay.
just a friend. Come on. Get your
Not
head out of the
everything.
Get your
gutter.
head out of the gutter.
Yeah.
I feel like we should get this out of the way. Kieran, would you like to talk about Fiddler's Fiddling?
Okay, Fiddler's Fiddling. There's not much to say. I think it's like the most beautiful thing in the entire Book of the Fallen. I love the way it starts when he's thinking about the dirge and they all sit together and they drink and they talk about all of the people who have fallen, and I just get a little teary-eyed.
Would
And
you
then-
like to read the bit about him complaining about the gods or whatever?
No, it's too long.
Okay.
I
It is
wouldn't do
long.
justice to it. Like I encourage anyone. I've read it like 20 times at least. I think it's one of the most beautiful things. And then like the music's playing throughout that chapter and it's diegetic and literally everyone can hear it and they're talking about it like, hey, can you hear that? And then he actually plays it and it's just so angry and hateful. And then oh god, it's perfect and I think it encapsulates the Book of the Fallen perfectly.
And he knows Kalam is dying when he plays it.
Yeah.
He knows. So sad.
And as well, the bit where he gets interrupted by Stormy. I think it's Stormy. Maybe it's Kessler.
Stormy.
He's like, no, you can't end on this. I was upset about that when I first read this, but now I get it. I agree with this decision. I think it's a good thing that Steve interrupted him before he finished, full of hate and anger.
It's also Steve kind of talking to himself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
probably.
Like, it's super easy to give up on the world.
Instead, he ends on a song about a spider eating her liver.
Yeah,
But it's like a funny song.
Yeah, it's
funny.
Yeah.
He like plays a jig at the end instead.
He just plays something lighthearted because
Yeah, that's totally what I think of when I think of lighthearted.
I mean, they're insects.
I mean, have you ever heard like the song there was an old lady who swallowed a fly? You know,
But that's not her liver.
My grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Okay, that's a better comparison.
Yeah. And yeah, he gets really. I think it's very fitting that he gets angry at the gods at the end, and he just wants one that actually is accepting, even of non-believers, and doesn't instill hate in its followers. And that's what I think religion should aspire to.
Yeah. I like I also just like that we finally get a reason why he carries fiddles all around on these campaigns, and like it's been like a running gag that he never plays it, and it turns out he only plays it with this like select group of veterans to remember the fallen, these dirges, and I like it. It's good character development there.
moving on from Fiddler, I was really moved when Kalam kept noticing the anguish on Tavor's face as she watched her lover die.
Yes.
Poor Tavor. She has such a rough time.
Saying something considering how stone-faced she always is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the entire time she knew that, like, that's not really timbre. Like, it kind of is, but it also kind of isn't. And the last moments she has with her lover are literally just seeing her get chopped to bits.
Do you think she knew that it wasn't timbre?
She knew.
She said that she's more like Kalam's confused about timbre, and he asks who she is, and Tavor says she's something more than what she once was. So yeah, I think that's I think
got
she
a
knew
section
something
from Tavor's perspective too.
But Grubb's so all-knowing, and Grubb says you can't tell.
Don't tell
her.
about the aerosol.
Yeah. So did she know then?
I don't think she knew that.
It
Like,
probably
it
wasn't
was
the aerosol.
like the direct connection. I think she knew that something was up, and that this wasn't entirely the timbre she knew.
Oh.
I mean,
how long do you think it'd been going on for?
It's a good question.
Because like
People
Timbre
talk about
was
it a lot.
nervous about being part of the game with Fiddler in the previous chapter.
I think it was days at least. I think at minimum it was since they encountered the Eater, but maybe more.
It would have been whenever Bottle, like the aerosol, like came to Bottle, and then they
the
joined
aerosol?
up with. What?
I said, and then he came to the aerosol.
Oh
my God. I really appreciated the stuff with the Talane mess, and
Lagana breeds back.
Yeah, I loved that, and I loved how like at first Lagana Breed was like humor is dead, and then they had a little more banter, and then they were Lagana. Is it he?
I think he
was like, you are all Marines, and they're like, yeah, and he's like, then I too am a Marine tonight. Let's go kill people, and I was just like, yeah, I loved it. It tied up like all that stuff from Deadhouse Gates, like which made me cry before, and it was like gave a nice little happy ending. So now I won't cry when I read that section. So it kind of ruins that. But whatever, it's not as sad.
Ash and I talked about that after you were like, "Oh man, Lagana, what did you do?" You're like, "Man, We can't tell him.
Yeah, he just kind of took advantage of the situation. Now there's this poor head that is sealing the game.
Right.
Oof.
And I'd read it like 3 times, and each time I cried, and now I'll never cry at that scene.
And yeah, it was right on the page.
Oh,
The Stormy or Gessler, like they notice. Oh, yeah, the guy took a head, didn't he?
yeah, but I
tell
didn't.
the Bonecaster about this.
We didn't
I
want to
didn't
mention
put
it
that
in the episode.
together with like,
Yep.
you know, what he was going to be able to do, or you know.
Speaking of tying things up from Deadhouse Gates, I think it's important to note that Gessler adds Fellison's name to the list.
Yeah, he did.
All I had
Which
was pity
so
for her.
sad.
He's like, yeah, man. Like, yeah, he put
She
it
was
in like
so
2
hurt that
sentences.
all she could do was hurt back.
Exactly. It's just
Even when something good came into her life, she didn't know how to deal with it. Oh, poor Fellison. Poor Fellison.
Of course, he thought
poor.
she, Habork, and Culp died like right after they left, and Bonin.
Nope. They died later. After after
They're
enduring
both
much
dead
more
now,
hardship.
But oof. On a lighter note, I really appreciate for all of you Esselmont fans out there. I really appreciated Agala, Temper, and Braventooth at the end of this book. Very happy that
Very
those
nice.
got in here. I love all the Esselmont fan service at the end of this book.
One of the funniest parts of this chapter is when Hellion and Banishjar meet up with Fiddler and Groot, and she's like, "Fiddler, you look awful," but she's actually talking to Lagana Breed.
I loved so much. I laughed so hard. Great comic relief right there. See, Hellion, necessary.
I like Hellion because I do find her funny now, but she's also very useful and very good at what she is an excellent sergeant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
like-
even when
He
she just
talks
climbed
too
out of the
much.
river and sees the assassin trying to assassinate Ben Ashar, she just kind of springs into action, breaks his elbow, and kills him. And then
Well, because she
quickly
was
race-
like,
she needs to arrest Ben Ashar because he's the priest
Yeah.
that ran out on her.
I need answers.
Yeah, that was pretty lucky, wasn't it?
yeah, well, I mean, Erickson
Yeah.
wrote it, so.
I like her because she's kind of represents the problem with alcoholics and society. Because at the same time, you kind of pity them, and you're just like, man, how could you do this to life? You just want to sit there and like, there's just so many contradictions there, right? Because they could be like really, really funny, and you want to laugh at their, their problems that are antics or the crazy stuff they're doing. But at the same time, like this is terrible for you. Like, what are you doing to yourself? You should get some help.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, since they're using alcoholism to mask greater problems, they can seem more fun when they're indulging in their vices, and people around them react like this, and they a lot of the times feel an obligation to play the part of the funny drunk. Not that I think Hellion's doing that. Should we talk
Speaking of-
about? No. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of funny, the way that Absalar gives Shadow Throne the Ototaro swords, and then him realizing, oh yeah, these are Ototaro swords, and he couldn't use his magic.
So he has to walk. So he's like
Yes.
hustling down the street, like trying to.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
That's
It
also
was
what
like-
killed Pearl.
Well, yes, which was really nice. I really like how that was done. The thing is, like, it was a nice kind of smack in the face as well to Shadow Throne by Absalar.
So
He
nice
couldn't do
seeing
anything
that
about
happen to
it.
Shadow Throne, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like that she killed him like using shadow dancing, and also he's sitting there thinking, it's Cotillion! The rope himself has come after me! And of course, she can do all that stuff because of her memories from Dancer Cotillion. So it was a nice, I don't know.
Although she might have even surpassed him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if she did, at what point does she start becoming the patron of assassins and replace him?
According to Shadow Throne and Cotillion, she's out. They're finished with her. No more takesy
Mm.
backsies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's
So
true?
then what does she do? Does she just like go be a
We're
fisher
gonna find
girl?
out. She
I
went
hope
to a
so.
she
Yeah,
went
she went.
to a tavern and got a bottle of rice wine and went up to a room.
Yeah, she
And
ended the book the way she came in it.
yeah, that was a nice touch.
That
Mhm.
was nice.
I thought Pearl's ending was very poetic.
Hmm.
I don't really feel bad for Pearl in a
No.
lot of ways. Like, he did have unfortunate things happen to him, and I think he's a well-written character. But I think he's an excellent demonstration of what happens when you do give in to the despair and the hate that, Fiddler, when he's fiddling. Because, like, this could have, like, all of this was, like, kind of needless on his part. Lestar wasn't even dead. If he had just, like, held the faith for longer, or if he'd, like, stopped wallowing in his own self-pity for long enough to open his eyes and see what's actually going on, then he wouldn't have had to die the way he did. And as well, like, he didn't have to die the way he did because the Apsalar was just doing a kind of karmic justice for how he tried to kill Kalam.
But he or Apsalar would have died anyway, regardless of all that stuff you just said.
Who are Apsalar?
Pearl.
Well, not
He-
necessarily. It's
No,
like,
yes,
he-
necessarily. He was on her list. He was her last target.
Oh.
So
Like,
he was gonna die. It might not have been as
eh.
bad, right? But she was gonna come for him. So it's gonna be one of them
I think
that was gonna go.
things could have been a lot different. And I don't think, like, anything was set in stone when he started making those decisions.
Sure.
But,
I
like,
think
why-
Do
he
you
was.
think she would have turned from her like get out of jail hit list though? Like it would have been her or him at the end of the day.
I don't know. It's a counterfactual. But I think that if he wasn't the type of person he was, and I think if he'd made different decisions, like, in a lot of ways, he probably wouldn't have been on that list in the first place.
Well,
Um,
that's kind of the question: is why was he on the list?
Why was he on the list?
Like,
Yeah.
did Cotillion know he was going to make all those terrible
Right.
decisions ahead of time, or at least intuited that enough that he went on the
Or-
list?
Or it wasn't necessarily Pearl exactly who was on the list, but it was the Claw Master.
Oh,
No, because
Kinda like
she
that
says
idea.
something to him. She says something to him about how his was the last name on the list, and she didn't expect it to be like there, like so far away from where she took on the list in the first place. Like she said something to him that indicates that she knew it was him, and she thought it was probably going to happen on 7 cities, and it wouldn't be this like
I see.
so
But
far
for-
away from.
But, like, Cotillion also set up Lostara to kill Tena Peralta. And
That's true.
at that point, like, Cotillion, like, Tena Peralta hadn't fallen to the crippled god. That was later. So, like, I think it's very ambiguous over whether or not Pearl was doomed if he made the decisions he did.
Hmm.
Because I don't think Tena Peralta would have been assassinated if he hadn't given himself to the crippled god.
Do we know how Cotillion came up with his list? Like, do we get to know?
Shadow Throne and Cotillion have many mysterious sources of information.
Okay.
Well, I wonder
No.
if like they just foresaw enough that they were like, well, at least as far as Tene Peralta goes, like, well, she probably won't do it if he doesn't do what all these bad things that we predicted he'll do. You know what I mean? Like, Yil wouldn't have chose to kill him because his instructions to her were very vague. They were like, you'll have to choose between what Pearl stands for and what Tavor stands for, or whatever.
I see.
They were very vague instructions. So like it wouldn't have turned into an assassination if Peralta didn't kind of go the way he went. If you see what I'm saying.
There was still a choice.
I have no opinion.
Yeah.
So speaking of killing, though, Kalam,
He does a lot of killing.
what a
Love Kalam.
badass!
He's
Yeah.
he's the badass.
And the way that it was interesting the way that Tamber and Tavor were like reasoning with him to not basically take the more immediate, like the immediate
satisfying.
satisfaction. Yeah,
It would have been satisfying too.
I know.
Mhm.
I mean, I would have been satisfied if Pearl had been able to execute those other two.
Oh, right. I was just thinking if Pearl just did it like 20 minutes earlier, it'd been so much better.
I'm not convinced Pearl could have taken a Malacral.
Yeah, that's a good
No,
point.
he wouldn't
I'm not.
have.
I'm not convinced Kalam could have either, but
Yeah,
it would. Yeah, who knows?
but what I was impressed by is there was that one particular scene where Kalam was he was warned by Lubin about the last steps, right?
Mm.
While they were leaving Lacine. And that combat scene was written very well. And I'm just like, so was Erickson just like going through the motions and trying to figure out like how to describe like, the different hits and smacks
He
and like the
does. He does know his combat, of course, because he fenced for a long time, and I assume he's done reading besides that. So, like, I imagine he had some kind of fun doing it, but also, like, a lot of this probably came from his tabletop RPG days, where you like the classic thing when
yeah.
a player kills a monster is, how do you want to do this? And then the player's like, oh, excellent, now I got to describe this.
But
Uh,
I mean he
in motion.
described it in a very realistic way.
Mhm.
Right? So that's why it just like it seemed like okay, he must have had some sort of study or like actually going through the motions to see how this would all play out and like
I wouldn't be
with the
surprised. Yeah, he
positioning.
just like sets up a sparring match with his wife or something.
I'm very curious.
Yeah.
You come over to Canada, I want to hit you.
Maybe
Oh
he
yeah.
and Cam did a lot of LARPing. I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah,
that
those
was really
sections were
cool.
brutal,
Mm.
brutal stuff.
So good.
I
Like
enjoyed it.
such a great movie in your mind. Like it's like watching a movie, reading all the assassin fight scenes in Erickson's writing. I don't even like assassins in fiction, and he makes me
Yeah.
love them in these books.
I like the internal monologue and the self-hatred that goes along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate how it's always kind of horrifying.
He doesn't glorify it.
He doesn't glorify it. No, it's like you're not meant to look up to Kalam and be like, I want to be like that guy. No. He's like he's not having a good time, and he's doing these awful things to people.
Yeah.
Like, but it is kind of nice to see someone who's good at their job do it well.
Competence
Well,
born.
it's an interesting like investigation into us liking and excusing sociopathic characters in fiction, in fantasy fiction. You know,
Oh,
I think part of it
yeah.
though is I mean, I'll just say I think we're all a bit psychopathic and
Yeah.
sociopathic, and fiction is a good outlet because it's not you're not actually hurting anyone, and that's why people like to watch gory films as well. I mean, some of them, not the
Sure.
reason.
WWE, UFC. Shall I bring it back to Rome again? The Colosseum, gladiator fights. Yeah,
Sure,
humans
sure.
love blood sport.
But I think in like if you go to like kind of like the stuff that inspired Malazan and then it's like responding to, it's less self-aware. Like if you had an assassin fight scene written by like the guy who wrote like Fafhrd and Mouser or something, like it would just be like escapism and like kind of just glorifying it and like, oh, we're just playing it out through fiction, so it's okay. Whereas Erickson kind of is like, hey, this is going to be really cool, and you really like this character, but it's not okay. And like, so it's more like it's a little elevated above.
Sure.
Not that
That
I'm
is a
saying-
result of the Black Company, though.
Yeah,
And
and all
other
the
fictions like that.
Vietnam War stories he read.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I've read some of those. Those are not fun.
No.
I don't think they're meant to be fun.
Should we talk
Erickson has balanced though, being like this is not okay with it being fun because it's
Yeah.
simultaneously
This is
fun,
awesome and terrible.
Yeah.
He is very much a dichotom. What would be that word? Dichotomatic? That's not a word.
Sure, it is now.
Dichotomous.
Dichotomous.
I prefer dichotomatic.
I would say that he isn't afraid of contradictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We should talk about the scene where with Lazine and Tavor and Kalam and Malakrel.
Okay.
Right? We like it's one of the more pivotal scenes in the series.
What do you want to say about it?
What do I want to say?
Awesome.
I mean, it's a good scene, right? And if anybody hasn't already, like, check out AP Canavan's videos on this because he has a lot of really good insights.
Do I get to
videos
watch
about
that
it?
now?
You can, yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You'll probably. I doubt that you'll feel more warmly towards Lazine, but he does do a good job of explaining her actions and her options.
Okay.
There's two of them. There's one that's just him, and there's one that's him and Erickson talking about
Okay.
that scene.
But yeah, there's a lot of double guessing of everyone else's actions, and Lazine can't be fully honest with Tavor, although she tries to be as honest as she can, because Malakrel is in the room, because Malakrel's not going to let this conversation happen without this. And Corbolodom is off in the corner, kind of missing everything that's going over. Like, it's just sailing right over it. And yeah, like, Kalam almost takes the deal. I think Tavor is also kind of tempted, and I think in a lot of ways she wishes she could, but she has bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
But even if she didn't have bigger fish to fry, do you really think Tavor would sacrifice the Wiccans?
I don't think she would have sacrificed the Wiccans, but I think that maybe she could have forced Lazine both onto her side and done it in such a way that Lazine would have maybe given up on sacrificing the Wiccans, or Tavor could have maneuvered so that it would have just not been feasible. Because that's kind of what you can do.
I'm not sure that was
playing
in the
politics. I like, maybe the Wiccans on the boats would have died, but maybe the Wiccan people could have been saved. I'm not sure.
Are there even
To
that
find
many
out more
left?
about the Wiccan people,
there
and
aren't a
their
lot of
plight.
Wiccan people left. No.
Yeah, I
they are
think the majority are on that
significantly
boat.
I wouldn't say the majority.
Yeah.
Like, there were like some significant amount that stayed back on the Wiccan plains. But yeah, like almost all their warriors and like capable people went with Coltane and died, which is one reason why Lazine is so okay with sacrificing the rest, because it's just like there's not a lot of them left.
To find out
Makes
more
no sense
about
What do you
the plight of the Wiccans,
It depends on where you put your values, right?
read Return of the Crimson Guard.
Yeah.
If
That's
if
my
listeners
line.
want to know more about what's going on the Wiccan Plain, Return of the Crimson Guard.
Yeah, and Kalam, like, if he had taken the deal, he could have been Clawmaster. He could have found some way to kill Corbolodom and Malakrel. But Tavor asked him
But then
not
he
to.
would have had to deal with the infiltrated claw.
Oh yeah, but like Kalam is like, he would have done a good job there. he could have rooted
Yeah,
out the corruption.
that would have been like flush in the toilet for Kalam. The bigger issue, I think, is Kalam would have also had to sacrifice the Wiccans, and it's pretty.
Lazine would have taken Kalam if Tavor had left, I think, and obviously if Tavor leaves with the Wiccans, then Kalam can't do anything about sacrificing them.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right, but if Kalam would have stayed with Lazine, Tavor would have got taken out.
Oh yeah, she would have been killed on the way to the ships.
Yeah, so the Wiccans would not have necessarily gotten away.
Keneb had his orders, so I think that, like, she put that failsafe in place.
Yeah, that's okay.
But then she didn't need to be on that ship.
Who didn't need to be on the ship? Tavor?
Tavor.
Oh, Tavor needs to be on that ship because she has bigger battles to fight.
No, but I mean, like, if she had been, if it had played out the way that you were saying, right? Like, Kalam went to be the Clawmaster, Tavor would have been taken out on the way to the ship, and then Keneb would have, like, left anyway. Like, Tavor didn't need to be on that ship.
Keneb would have Keneb would have gone down, right? They were defending against the mob, waiting for Tavor. Like, they wouldn't have known that she was dead.
I think that at a certain point they would have cut their losses and left, but I don't know, it didn't happen. It's another kind of factual.
Yeah, too much theoretical.
Yeah,
hard not to. They're because they do this stuff in the scene. They're in the scene doing these counterfactuals.
Yeah,
like,
they absolutely
playing
do.
them all out, like talking them all through. You know.
I do appreciate that we do, like, Tavor's personality is very much expressed through her fighting style. It's very minimal, and she's kind of surgical about it. Like, when Kalam is their initial engagement. Tavor takes out 2 Kalam members. Kalam does his fancy parrying and then stabs a guy and then stabs him again and whatever. And Tavor just kind of calmly dodges 2 daggers and kills a guy with a stop thrust. She doesn't expend any more energy than she needs to.
In the fight scenes, like through fighting the claw, there was very little of Tavor. It was very much focused on Kalam and Tamber.
Absolutely. We do get a POV of Tavor, so savor that. Let's see. Yeah. In the end, the Bonehunters sail away. So
with
kinda
with
stew on
all and
that,
his
I guess.
wife.
With all and his wife and Ben Ashar.
And Namander and Fayed and
Mandarin
who
crew.
are the other Teist people.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that Sandalath and Withal get married. I'm a romantic at heart.
Yeah, they have a super romantic relationship.
Yeah, the romances in the
Don't ruin this
series-
for me.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, we can move on to chapter 24 though. Chapter 24. Ikariam gets mad, but falls asleep before he can break anything too important.
Those poor children.
Or
Yeah, they just get slaughtered. The first time I read this, I had to I read it like 5 times trying to see where the definitive moment where Monok Okum died.
Yeah.
And he just kind of gets blown away like a chump.
But that was very weird. It was very bizarre
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it felt like there was a scene that got deleted or something. There was something missing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
because the last we see him, he's running away, and
Right.
then Trill comes into the room. And is like, "Oh, I guess he's melted."
And I'm like, when did
into
this
the
happen?
throne, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
By who?
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
it
that
by
was
like the
definitely what
warlock
messed
or
up.
something?
No, it wasn't
That-
the warlock. He killed the warlock. I think it was Ikariam's winds that killed him.
Oh,
Yeah, which is like
When
how
Ikariam starts the
what?
keening, then a whirlwind starts picking up, and then Ikariam gets more powerful, and then he gets more powerful, and he gets more powerful, and he gets more powerful.
so
He's like the Hulk.
did the throne this throne actually got destroyed, right? In this
No.
sequence? No?
I don't think so.
No, he just got
Monok Okum melted into the throne.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Melted
the throne
into
actually
the
got
throne.
stronger if you think about it.
But
now
then
it's a bone throne.
don't
Yeah,
they
it's a
still
bone
have
throne.
don't
was
they
a
have
bone
to
throne.
keep defending it then if it's
Ikariam killed all the Tice that went there, right? There was,
Okay.
and there was one Lothari that came back, and him and Terralak Veed are like, let's kill the Emperor with this guy. So they're sailing back to the Empire.
so they're just not gonna try anymore? And Shadow Throne's like, sure. They're not gonna try anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a Lothari and Terralak Veed. Like, what are they going to do?
I think
They don't care
the-
about
No,
the
this
story.
I'm
group
saying,
won't
like, the
try
Teist-
anymore.
Right, but don't
I think everyone who knew about this battle was either there or died earlier.
Cotillion and Shadow Throne like pull what's her name? Manala and children and everyone back after this fight? Like they send
Yeah,
Shadow Throne to
yeah.
heal and
They're like, we're done. We're not going to do this anymore.
They said that they're not gonna fight anymore.
Yeah. So
so what is their plan now to
I don't
defend the
know.
throne?
Shadow Throne and Cotillion are going to have to figure it out.
Mm.
But the Teist fleet isn't as worried. Like the people who were set to take the throne from the Teist are like they were all killed by Ikariam. So
Right.
yeah, this is the first time we get to see Ikariam really lose it.
Yeah.
And we get to see why Ikariam really should have been put in a Zath house like 10,000 years ago. He's a nice guy, but he does horrible things.
But he doesn't remember them.
Yeah, but he still does horrible things. Tell
He
that to all the
doesn't
people he's
know.
like a really comfy Azath house with like a bed and
Mappo.
like a
They could be there
TV.
together.
It's awful. Like, is it really worth having this guy, this innocent soul wandering around killing people? Like, he definitely doesn't think it's worth it.
Yeah,
He tried to go into the Azath house and Dead House gates.
that's
Yep.
true.
And Mappo knocked
This
him
is
out.
all Mappo's fault.
Yes, literally.
Yeah.
Well, not literally, because Mappo did
It's really
try his best to
the
keep him away from
nameless
danger.
one's fault.
Well, I
But
guess.
it is definitely
But it
in a
is
very
Mappo's
large
fault.
part Mappo's fault. Yeah.
But Mappo's a good boy.
Malpo's a
Yes.
good
He's a soft boy.
Yeah, this is kind of when you would want a Lazine in Mappo.
Wait,
What?
say that again?
This is kind of when you would want someone like Lazine in Mappo's place.
Well,
Lazine would have put
Yeah.
him in the house. I can
I would
guarantee
rather
you
have
that.
a Tavor.
Oh yeah, Tavor maybe. Yeah.
Or Fiddler.
Fiddler, it'd be good.
Maybe
Fiddler was
Fiddler.
there.
Maybe Fiddler just needs to play the fiddle for Ikariam. Maybe that's the key. You know, when
Healing
he starts getting into his
powers.
rage, yeah, and then Fiddler just starts
Yeah, he's just
playing.
really jonesing for some cool beats to
Yeah.
relax to.
Music.
I
James
liked
the Savage
that.
Beast.
I liked that the Blue Rose Teist guy.
Alrada on.
Yeah, sure. I remember that guy's name. When I like that he like felt guilt about the shorting and was like, "I'm gonna fight with Troll."
And Phil's
Like,
like, wait,
a
what?
lot more than just the shorting.
Yeah, he hated
He's-
himself.
Well, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
He
But
was
like,
fishing for.
he was really upset about the shorting, and he got some redemption.
I feel
Before
so
he
bad for him.
died.
Roll
in a
was
lot of
not
ways.
upset about it. He's just like, what are you apologizing for?
Yeah. Yes. Trull is the moral paragon of the series. He doesn't hold anything against everybody. He's willing to forgive them like the drop of a hat. He only wants to do the good thing all the time ever. Trull is a good boy. And guess what? He's uber powerful. He held off Ikariam with a spear.
Well, yes, but
The reason-
he was gonna lose.
He
The
was,
only
but
reason that he had to stop was because his spear broke. He was doing a good job before that.
I think he would definitely have lost if there was more time. But yes, he
Yeah.
did a
Oh,
great
yes.
job.
Like at some point he would have died, but like
He
almost nobody
lasted
else in the
very
series
long
could have
time.
lasted so long.
True. I mean, Quickbend, like, he didn't
He didn't
last very long.
Quickbend did pretty good, and he was finally forced to reveal his power.
Yeah, that Lothari guy who wanted to impress Twilight. I'm sure that Twilight and him, that'll never come back up again.
Yeah, they keep talking about Twilight.
Unimportant character.
Yeah, totally irrelevant.
So after like the battle's gone, everyone's gone. The aerosol comes and heals everybody, right?
Mm.
Do you
Well,
think this
most
is the
people.
well, most people,
Everybody outside in
everybody
the
alive.
like battle area.
Do you think that aerosol was forced to leave Tamber and had to come here to heal? And if she didn't have to come here, Tamber would still be alive?
I don't know.
I think Tamber was done, and she
Yeah.
needed to find another host, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's my speculation: because the aerosol like healed Ikariam, I think she did something. Like her influence on him has now changed some of the things that the nameless ones did to him. And I think if Ikariam and Karsa like did actually clash, which I mean at the end of this book it seems like that's coming, but if who knows what Erickson has planned. I think that Karsa would win. I think whatever the aerosol did, like Ikariam is no longer the same Ikariam before the aerosol.
Those are some optimistic thoughts. I like it.
Good stuff.
I look forward to discussing this later.
Oh dear.
I don't have any other notes for the rest of the book.
I don't have anything for this chapter.
Epilogue. Nope, Ash,
Yeah.
don't. Yep.
Epilogue. Karsa shows his excitement for the next book. Shadowthrone has a chat with his favorite mage. An investigation is closed.
Cool. That's all I have to say. I don't have any notes.
Tashrin foretells that Temel will be teaching a young warrior named Cotillion decades from now.
Colton.
Hold
Not
Oh,
Cotillion.
sorry.
Oh man,
Sorry,
wouldn't that be
Colton.
awesome? Cotillion dies and gets reborn as a wicked that Temel then
Colton.
teaches.
Oh,
Oh,
my
that's a
goodness.
spin-off I would read.
I was looking at the word Coltain, but I said Cotillion. I don't know.
I really like it when Shadowthrone talks about Empire business. Because
Yeah.
he's out of the game. He doesn't like he has different things he's worrying about right now, but he's also very perceptive. And like the biggest reason why the Empire even got to where it is right now, definitely Kellenvet. Like Dassem, Cotillion, Dassem, Dancer, and Lazine all helped a lot, absolutely. But Kellenved's like the real genius behind everything, and so
And
he
he
can
started
pick
off as
out.
a thief.
Yeah, he can pick out what's going wrong, and like how things could be different to be better.
Yeah.
And if you want to see Esselmont make fun of everything Asherman just said, read Paths to Ascendancy.
Oh dear.
Ooh, we're going to listener question.
Wait.
First, I forgot to bring something up for chapter 23. It's real short. Real short. It's did you guys cry when Nil was
Yes.
like, you fight for the Wiccans and for the Kundral burn tears this night. We choose to witness. Who got a tear in their eye? Come on now. Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
Always hearing.
I just
It
I
is
had
I'm
a
crying right now.
tear. I had a tear inside.
a metaphorical tear.
Goosebumps even? Like anything? A shiver?
That was a
Um,
nice moment.
Yeah, it's a good moment.
And then
no,
they
Heather.
bowed to
And
Keneb.
they bow.
Oh, that was awesome.
That gives me like Return of the King vibes. My friends, you bow to no one. Yeah.
Love the
All
Wicked.
right.
So Temper is Shadow Throne's son? Question mark.
What?
Huh?
Okay, never
um,
We does not deal with that one.
to find out more about Temper, read Knight of Knives by Ian C. Esselmont.
Never mind. Just move on. Next listener questions.
Wait, I had a question. Whose section was your favorite in chapter 23?
Uh,
My answer is Fiddler, with a close second being Keneb, because I love Keneb. Maybe not a close second.
I'm not comfortable saying I have a favorite, but boy is Absolar doing a bang up job. Well done,
Big
Absolar.
surprise.
Kills like 300 and something assassins. Yep, she's overpowered.
Yeah, the Lagana breed. It's probably really Fiddler, but I wanted a different answer.
It was
That
fun.
stuff's part of the Fiddler stuff anyway. It's the funny
Sure
side of it.
is.
I love when the munitions were going off and Fiddler's like, Kettle's using all my munitions.
Yes.
Right as he's coming back with 4 new crossbows.
I loved when Keneb kicks the guy
Yes.
off the boat, and then what's his face shoots him in the back.
Yeah.
And the line he gives when he says it about how Coltane was like crucified, I wish I would have put that down as one of my quotes.
Yeah.
Like how Coltane was crucified, and he's gonna nail him to something wood and spread eagle, and so that people have to remember the truth. Yeah.
By the way, I feel obligated to mention, someone dropped the ball on the Wiccans, and I think that shares at least some responsibility for this. DeWicker. Man had one job. Coltane kept him alive for one reason, to tell the story of what happened.
Right.
And he failed.
Wait.
Bad job.
Whatever happened to him because he went back?
He failed because he got ordered to come with the army that was being led to be sacrificed and crucified. What was he supposed to do?
He's still alive.
Like, I'm talking about after.
He came back.
Like, he's alive. He's like he is in a position where he can tell the real story of what happened.
For more on Duiker telling that story, read Toll the Hounds by Stephen Erickson.
Yeah, read more on how he's not telling the story.
Spoilers.
Spoiler.
Sure.
Oh dear. Thank you for bringing that up, Ash, because I totally forgot.
Yeah. This was why Coltane like brought him to everything and like
And
took
he witnessed
special care
all
to
the
keep him alive
things.
the entire time and gave him his special +1 life necklace.
Yes.
Oh. I mean,
Okay.
I can't really blame Twicker, but he definitely
But
shares
no,
some
yes, you
responsibility.
can.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Your answer, Panda.
I think it's the Keneb sections. Yeah.
I love Keneb.
Because that's where I got to see most of my the banter and the and the parish like actually engaging with the mob
That's cool.
when they really could have just not. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was touching. Listener questions?
Listener questions. So Lady Sweden, she has quite a few. Thank you. She asks, do you get / buy into Fellis and the Younger's development and Lacine's? I don't get them at all, neither of them. Like how and why? Um,
We
I don't
talked quite a
think.
bit about Lacine
Yeah,
already.
I don't think she
Yeah.
really developed. More as like just did what I think she would do.
For
Fellis
more
and
information, watch AP Canavan's videos on this.
it's not really more about development. It's just kind of her, the way she thinks and her situation. But yeah, it's a great video. Fellison, yeah, I mean, she's a teenager. It's easy to fall into cults when you're stupid.
Yeah, she had like 3 months of actual good influences on her, and then the rest of her life was terrible. So I totally buy this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
she was looking for guidance from Solara, and Solara's like, smoke dope and have fun. So she's like, sure, I'll keep doing that.
Question 2. The Jadic apocalypse happens and then nothing. What did you think of it and what will happen now? What will happen? I'm going to keep my mouth closed, but I would, yeah, it was cool.
I will say that I totally see where she's coming from for this. And the first time I read the book, I was also like, is that it? So yeah, it's a fair thing. But stay tuned. There's definitely more Jade out there in space.
I think the way that Erickson tells these stories, one of my issues with it is how much he tries to pack into one book. And this actually probably goes into another
Her
question
next
that we'll
question,
get to.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a story writer. Yep.
It's more of like, there could be parallel things that are happening, but you can only tell it in a more linear way because that's how it works.
Yeah, I do think it's a fair thing to have bother you.
Okay, thank you.
I don't blame you for feeling that way.
3?
I mean, I think what will happen now, like something big is going to happen. Like we know it's going to build up to something big. This is not going to be something that's just like brushed under the rug or anything. So it's
And
more of like
confirm.
sitting on the edge of my seat basically to see what happens.
So, Lady Sweden, if you're worried that this is one of the plot threads that Ash and I have been alluding to that just kind of get dropped, it is not.
Yeah, it's not.
It's too
I'm
big.
still confused by it all, and I've seen it develop even further, and I still am like,
Thanks.
but, I'm sure it'll all be clear when we get to Dust of Dreams and the Crippled God.
Everything will
something.
make sense when you're older, Lady Sweden. You just got to grow up. When you're 20, then you just obtain a bunch of information about the world that just wasn't there before.
Yep, that's totally how it works.
Sorry, it's when you're 18. Yeah.
How did you feel about the plot of this book? I love the characters' relationship, but the plot was a bit all over the place and lacked direction.
Another fair critique, I would say. Like the plot is definitely a lot more. I'm not gonna say like I don't think it's all over the place, but I do think it is. There's
a lot.
It's definitely a lot and kind of weird in a lot of ways.
Quite fractured.
Yeah, and like yeah, especially like the last bit of the book, it doesn't follow directly from what it's been set up at the beginning of the book. Because the beginning of the book is like, oh, we're chasing down the survivors of the apocalypse. There's gonna be a confrontation with Liam and the Flails. You cannot reasonably intuit that it would end with the Malazan Tavor and Lazine parting ways via bloody assassin bloodbath on the streets of Malaz City and Tavor sailing away. So yeah, and especially like the parish kind of show up and they teleport them to this last bit of the plot.
Yeah, and I still don't know what Perron's gonna do with this army of his or where that's going. It just kind of like dropped off before the end of the book.
They left the Sun Cities.
Yeah, they rode off into the sunset, and that's.
I mean, I think this one is a transitional book where it's like the first half was tying off some plots from the first half of the series, and then this second half is like setting up for the rest.
Yep,
in a lot of ways, yeah.
So
yeah.
So I agree, Lady Sweden. It was kind of like a lot, but I loved it because like it had like incredible set pieces and some really cool stuff happening.
Also, like I really like the Midnight Tide stuff when it's in a book with the Malazan stuff.
Mm.
A lot
Hmm.
more than I like it when it's by itself. So I like when the Eater and the Letheri showed up, I was like, I'm here for this. In a much bigger way, though I missed Bug. In a much bigger way than I was here for it in Midnight Tides.
Lady Sweden did not.
Yeah,
But,
I think the eater sections are just my least favorite.
It's okay. We all have
Even
bad
in this
taste
book?
sometimes.
In all of the books, wherever they show up.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. See, I don't mind them once they're not like one half of the book.
Reaper's Gale might be a little rough.
Oh no.
I really like Reaper's Gale though, a lot more than I liked Midnight Tides.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
get to Reaper's Gale later.
Book rankings update time, please.
Ugh.
Later students go for the question. I'll
I have to
start.
remind myself.
Bone Hunters. We'll just count these 6. Bone Hunters. Number 2, Dead House Gates. Number 3, Midnight Tides. 4, Gardens. 5, House of Chains. 6, Memories of Ice.
Interesting.
I don't know. These are just
Um.
out of my ass.
Okay, that's fair.
Bone Hunters, Dead House Gates, Gardens of the Moon, House of Chains. No, Memories of Ice. Then House of Chains. On the bottom is Midnight Tides.
Whoa,
On the
House
top
of
for me.
Chains used to be your favorite.
I know, I really liked it, but I don't know. It's a great book. It's a great book, but I don't know. Gardens and Memories of Ice in this book are so well crafted. I don't know. It's hard to rank them because they're all like, if I put them in a tier list, they're all on the S tier, and then and then Midnight Tides is in the B tier.
You just need to
Slander.
make.
It's outright slander is what this is.
I
Yeah.
see.
First, Midnight Tides. Absolutely. That's the one I know for sure is going to stay the top. I think maybe Toll the Hounds will creep in there. Yeah. First Midnight Tides. Second, probably House of Chains. Then Dead House Gates. Then maybe Bone Hunters. Memories of Ice. Gardens of the Moon.
House of Chains and Midnight Tides are in the bottom.
Gardens is
think-
probably still in the top for you, eh?
Gardens is still fairly high. I think the challenge with Bone Hunters is it needs to marinate more. It's not like an instant favorite. There are a lot of things I like, but a lot of those things are connecting back to Dead House Gates, Gardens, and Memories of Ice. So, yeah, I would put it in the middle, and then the first 3 books are the top 3.
I think part of it is it took 4 months to read it. That doesn't help, right?
Yes, but and I was thinking about that. Like this book never quite didn't really have that many moments where I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I cannot put this book down."
Egotam
Is
was
the-
that for me.
You can
Is
chapter 23.
part of that because there wasn't nearly as much setup for the big set pieces as there were in the other books, or
I think so.
do you that's
I
just
think
not-
yeah, it's like once you finish the first half, like after Egotan, you're just like, "Okay, I feel like I should be done." And
Yeah.
then there's this whole other half of the book that happens.
and yeah, like they kind of get teleported around pretty quickly, so you don't have as much time to like get the anticipation building for what you know is going to happen next. Like,
Yeah, there are
yeah.
just a lot of different plot lines that you spend time with. So I think like jumping ahead to the next question actually, by Jingles 90, which is Erickson often says this book is 2 novels in one, which made it difficult to write. What are some of the benefits you think that come from putting 2 novels together in the Bone Hunters instead of making an 11-book series? Honestly, I think this would have, for me, it would have been better as more than even an 11-book series. Like if he could find a way to be more contained in the ways that he's like telling the story in smaller chunks, and there's more time spent with the plot, like each plot line.
So
You know,
You'll really
yeah,
like The God Is Not Willing, I think.
I was thinking the same thing.
I think that might be your favorite thing that he writes.
16, The God Is Not Willing versus, or maybe 20, The God Is Not Willing versus 10, Books of the Fallen.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot more limited in scope, and he does basically what you're saying.
Kieran brought up though that it taking 4 months to read might have affected that. And like for me, since I read it twice, and once it took me, I just like went steamrolled through it, and once I read it with the podcast very slowly, it did feel a lot different. Like I still remembered Egoton very vividly as like, oh, I read that like last week or something when I got to the end here. Whereas this time I'm like, how did this book begin? What? Like it's like chapter 1 was like 1,000 years ago, compared to like reading
4
this.
months ago, yeah.
Yeah, but it feels forever.
Yeah.
And so I think it does kind of impact your experience. Though.
It
At least it did
does.
for me.
But at the same time, it's like I just don't read these big chunky books as often.
Mhm.
And I would prefer the stories to be more consumable in faster pace.
That's fair.
So like if he had broken this book down into maybe like 3, not even 2, like 3
That's
where
what I said. I said it's 3 books, not 2. Because you get to the Malaz City parts, and it's like you're in another novel.
Yeah.
Another, like a short one. Like it's like a novella almost.
So anyway, that's my
Climax
answer.
You got on climax being Paleo, and then climax being Malaz
Yeah.
City.
Yeah, definitely. It's 3. It's not 2. It's 2 if you're Steven Erickson, but it's really 3 if you're anyone else. But if you want books like this to be short and fast paced, I recommend that you read Night of Nights by C.S.
It's fun too.
Sorry, I've been doing that all night. It's my shtick.
I think book divisions for me are mostly arbitrary. So I wouldn't mind it if he split it up. I don't care much that he kept it together. My big problem is that a lot of it didn't feel cohesive.
That's what
with
I'm
each other.
saying.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Right?
like those 3 books would have been more cohesive, more focused.
If he wrote the connections between the set pieces more extensively, or it felt more natural, then I think a lot of the issues with the book would go away. But I
Yeah.
do sympathize with his struggle to keep it both a 10-book series and
Why does
fit
it have to be
everything into this
10?
book that he
That's
probably
what he was
wanted it to
signed on
be
for.
at least somewhat limited in ambition.
But look how much more they're writing.
Yeah, but like
But
Book of the
he's
Fallen like is
finished.
one big thing that he got to get off his
I
plate, and now he can
know.
focus on other things. Yeah.
I think he just wanted to get to the end.
I think that's part of it.
Could be.
Well, he didn't want to do like Wheel of Time, where you just keep cranking them out just to crank them out.
Well,
Like,
I mean, he said he knew the ending quite early on. It was just
Yeah.
about getting there, right?
And
So
I think a lot of it is just like writing what he finds
Well, I'm
to
sure-
be interesting, and I think he was more done with this segment of what he was writing than,
he wanted
was
to get
excited
to the second half.
Yeah, he wanted to get to Reaper's Gale and everything like else.
Steve, if you have insight, please let us know. And if you're listening.
Last question.
Last question. Jingles 90. Karsa and Arcarium are in an interesting position at the end of this book. How long did it take to realize that Karsa was hunting Teist Eater? I realized right away. I mean, he met Boatfinder,
Yes.
and they're like, yeah, we got these people coming from the seas.
These
Who
weird
could that be?
gray-skinned raiders. Yeah.
It took me a minute because they called them revenants at first, which is like undead warriors. And so I was with Karsa, where Karsa was picturing them at first as like these zombies. And I was like, oh, what is this new thing that's coming? And then I kind of put it together along with Karsa.
They're metaphorical zombies, in addition to being gray-skinned.
Oh, I'll always love this book because it introduced Samar.
Mm.
I love
Good
Samurai
character.
Dev.
Although, if we're talking about things that fell off, Samar time really did.
Yeah, it did. Well, Samurai and
Unfortunately.
Karsa.
I'd read a book of those too.
Yeah. See, if you got 3 novels that were more focused, you would have gotten more Samar. Just saying.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so I think the suggestion you have for Steve is to just Probably be
Rewrite this
younger
book.
so he can write more, and also be more people so that he can write more things.
It could be a human divers.
Yeah, exactly. Or we could just, find the Fountain of Youth and just like keep him alive on that while he writes all the things that he needs to write before he dies.
I call for an end of the episode.
Yes, please.
That concludes this episode. If you want to join the read-along and or contribute listener questions, check out the Legendarium's Discord. You can find the link on thelegendarium.com. Also follow us on Twitter @GreenTeamPod for updates and fun times. Check out the Legendarium podcast for Wheel of Time, Cosmere, Lord of the Rings content, and so much more. Thank you to our panelists, Ashamon, Yasna as a Boy, and Befuddled Panda. I'm here in Fan. Until next time.
Goodbye.
I.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, and I read this. In a journey through the wastes, I found a god, kneeling as it pushed its hands into the sand, again and again, each time lifting them up to watch the lifeless grains stream down. Dismounting from my weary horse, I walked to stand before this apparition and its dusty hands, and watched for a time the cycles of their motion. When at last it looked, eyes beseeching. Where, asked this god, are my children?
Where
Ooh.
indeed?
Chills.
Where indeed.